Russia has completely lost their mind. Within the past 24 hours, they've kind of yelled out three separate things that are complete nonsense. One is that Ukraine is 100% going to be attacking the Kursk nuclear plant. They're putting military outside to prepare for it. Next is Ukraine is preparing dirty bombs that they're going to be using in the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant and in the Kursk nuclear power plant. And then most recently, Ukraine attack in Kursk has stopped a secret peace talk that was going on. All things that kind of make you go, I'm so what is going on, Russia? So I figured, let's go ahead and sit down and kind of talk about all of this news, where it's coming from and how we're getting it, because a lot of it is just straight up Russian propaganda. Starting off with these secret peace talks. According to an article from the Washington Post, citing different kind of sources, there was going to be a partial ceasefire about a week and a half ago that was taking place during, at least on an outside country, where Ukraine and Russia were going to come together and discuss some kind of peace negotiation when it comes to attacking energy infrastructure. Because Russia was, at least remember that point, Ukraine was not inside of Russia. Russia was pushing forward in Donetsk. In their mind, they were probably thinking that they had the upper hand here. Then, of course, Russia had a massive, we're just going to call it informational failure, because their intel didn't let them know that Ukraine was building up this military on their border, and they were able to get through. So that's an intel failure of Russia. And then some talk was going to happen, but since Ukraine invaded Russia, those talks have completely stalled. Now, what's interesting is it's an unnamed diplomat that is talking about this. It says here, an unnamed diplomat told the paper that both sides intended to send delegates to negotiate a landmark deal that would halt mutually devastating strikes on energy infrastructure. However, when Ukrainian troops launched a large-scale attack on the Russian territory last week, the planned talks were thrown into doubt. Which just goes, wait a minute, huh? So you're saying that Ukraine could have had the opportunity to stop the major attacks and then decided not to, and then decided to invade Russia? And at the same time, and as articles, or at least Russian articles are coming out, decided to then attack a nuclear plant that is several kilometers away? That makes no sense, Russia. Essentially, what Russia is trying to do is tell the world that, oh, this war could have ended, this could have done, but Ukraine did the wrong thing here. It's not Ukraine that could end this, okay? Let's remember that. Russia is the only country at this moment that could say, you know what, we're going to stop and pull out, and that would be a ceasefire. That would end this. But Russia isn't. They're doing everything in their power to push even harder. And if Russia truly wanted to do some kind of peace deal or ceasefire, they would have publicly came out and said, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Instead, they continue attacking Ukraine. They just attacked Kyiv the other night. They attacked Sumy today. They attacked Donetsk, destroying a 9-story residential building, luckily under construction, no one was inside, and hit a supermarket. I know a couple people, civilians, had died today because of Russia's attack. Most of the drones over Kyiv were destroyed. That's not what happens when a country wants to have a ceasefire or talks. And even if Ukraine were to have said conversations, what does that have to do with Ukraine going into Russia? Because, okay, maybe you're embarrassed that happened. Maybe that should be the talk. Hey, Ukraine, look, if you pull out of here, we won't strike infrastructure. We won't do this. And that's why Ukraine did it. They did it for two reasons. One is to have something to bargain with Russia. And two, it's because they know there needs to be a buffer zone between Russia and Ukraine so that Russia can't strike Ukraine. And that's what Kursk is. If they can create a massive, even if it's 30, 40 kilometers wide, if they can create that buffer zone where there's no Russian military, then you're saving countless lives, whether it be in Kharkiv or even other cities. So this whole story that Russia and the Washington Post put out just doesn't make any sense. And it's weird that whoever, I mean, it's unnamed diplomat, is the one that said this was going on. Is this person a Russian? Is this person an American diplomat? We have no information. It really doesn't make any chance. And interestingly enough, it even states in the article, it says, senior officials in Kyiv, however, were more skeptical about the negotiations, estimating that their chances of success were 20% or less. That came from the Washington Post. So even if Ukraine went to this, they didn't think it was even going to happen. So that wouldn't have stopped Ukraine from going inside of Russia. And let's be honest, what Ukraine is doing right now is fantastic. They have uprooted everything that Russia had been doing because A, they have to move resources to that area, removing people off of the front lines. B, making holes in his front lines that Ukrainians can come in. And C, and I think the most important thing, it makes Putin look extremely bad and extremely weak. Because not only is Ukraine invading a part of his border, which was supposed to be protected, the Ukrainians are treating the Russian locals extremely good. They were bringing in humanitarian aid, toys for kids, food, regular basic things that they didn't have or they needed. And now as they're doing this, the locals are going, these Ukrainians are not as bad as Putin has been making out. And potentially they could be telling friends and family, this is what's going on. They're not bad. They're doing this. They're doing that. Unlike the horror stories they were told, they're going to come to your town and do this horrible thing, do this horrible thing, do that horrible thing, which once again was what Putin was spilling into their minds. So on every single side, this looks bad for Putin. And so for Putin to kind of stay face, we're getting stories like this to happen, to where he can tell his public, look, guys, we were trying to do the right thing here, but Ukraine did the wrong thing. Don't blame Ukraine. Ukraine did not invade you. Well, actually, technically now they did, but you invaded Ukraine and killed thousands and thousands and took territory that's not yours. You're the wrong one here. And the funny thing is that the rest of the world agrees with Ukraine because all of the Russian representatives are saying, look what Ukraine's doing to us. You guys have to say this is wrong. And all the other countries are like, nah, what you did was wrong. What they're doing is just getting back. And because of all that, because Putin is being embarrassed, we're starting to get all of these different stories of what Ukraine's going to be doing. The dirty bomb story, which Russia is still blaming Ukraine on what happened at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. You know, the tires inside the cooling tower that caught fire. They're saying Ukraine did that. I'm trying to figure out how Ukraine was able to bring in all of those tires overnight. Because, you know, what a prank, right? Ukrainian soldiers, instead of trying to take back the base or the nuclear plant, they decided to sneak in, bring a couple hundred tires into the cooling tower, and then hit it with a drone. That's exactly what they did. And that's what Russia is trying to make you believe. When it comes to the Kursk nuclear plant, Russia believes Ukraine is trying to get there. Now, there really hasn't been any evidence. Actually, we don't know the end goal of where Ukraine's going to get to. But Russia is now coming out and saying that they will unleash a swift retaliation if Ukraine launches an attack on the nuclear plant, which does not make sense. If Ukraine wanted to attack a nuclear plant, there were other options. But why would they attack the one there? Russia has this weird thing that they think that Ukraine is just out to destroy a nuclear power plant, because this is not the first time they've accused Ukraine of trying to destroy a nuclear power plant, which we can all agree that even if Russia or Ukraine, anyone destroys a nuclear power plant, it's not good for this planet whatsoever. But what does Russia think is going to happen when Ukraine comes in? Because Ukraine, if they wanted to destroy a nuclear plant, they could have destroyed their own with the Russians inside. They would never destroy also a nuclear plant next to their country, which the fallout would fall into their own country. You know, it doesn't make any sense. I think it's just Russia trying to switch the frame to where Ukraine will take land to make that buffer area, make things safer for Ukrainians. And they're not happy about that. They're upset that Ukraine's in there, so they're trying to paint Ukraine as though they're planning something big, while at the same time saying that Ukraine's getting ready to do a dirty bomb in Zaporizhzhia, and at this one, which makes everyone else believe it's probably Russia that is planning to do some kind of dirty bomb, because then They could blame it on Ukraine and say, look, we've been warning you guys. Look, see this article we put on RT on August 17th? We told you guys that Ukraine would do this, and they did it. And try to make Ukraine look bad when Russia forgets. There's satellites everywhere. I'm pretty sure there's a couple watching that nuclear plant in real time to make sure that Russia isn't doing anything stupid. Because if you remember, the last time that Russia said that Ukraine was going to do something to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, they placed bombs on top and around the reactor. And within a couple hours of that coming out, pictures started coming online showcasing satellite imagery of what Russia had placed on top of the building. And it would be like, 2 days ago, there was nothing there. 2 days later, something's there. Who are the only people who have access to this? Russia. So there's a lot that is going on. I don't know why Russia is trying to do this provocation or false flag operation, but that is what Russia likes to do. So for them to say that Ukraine's going to do a dirty bomb, for them to say that there was a peace deal, for them to say that Ukraine's going to be attacking any kind of nuclear plant, is all false information, just trying to maybe get different news out there. I know Russia loves to throw out a lot of fake information so that you can't decipher what's the truth. And they do that a lot. And in this case, I think they're just embarrassed about what's going on in Kursk. And so they're just throwing this information out there, hoping that you as a viewer, whether you're in the United States or in Europe or somewhere else, reads it and you don't know what is real and what's fake. And at least here, I'll tell you what's real, and especially on my TikTok channel. And I just want to thank you guys for joining me. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. I am still uploading videos onto this YouTube channel as we're still trying to figure out what on earth is going on. I know they demonetized us saying that we're reusing content. I'm just using clips and things with permission. So we're still trying to work about what's going on, especially we want to take care of this before we go to Ukraine in the fall. Anyway, that being said, thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. I'm Joey. Stay safe.